anything?
Well,
No?
we moved them all over there.
Yeah, I could just move that whole rod.
I don't want you to move anything today. If we have to move something, we can move it in the future. So no worries, baby. It's fine. Oh, can you take these back with you when you go give Kenyon his dinner? Ooh, I don't know if I like these incense. Neroli smells really good fresh, but I don't know if I like it. Hi, I'm Brandy. This is Hound Dog Hollow, and today's going to be my first ever, not really first ever, but we're calling it Friday Night Lives. And basically, I'm going to try to go live once a week. It might not always be Friday night. We might be doing Saturday night sometimes. I'm a rebel. And basically, educational topics, community chat, things like that to provide direct connection with me. Because I think people who subscribe here, thank you, baby, who subscribe are mostly looking for what I'm looking for, which is connection and chatting and community and so on and so forth. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come on today because I'm going to have to buckle down and get a pregnancy pillow because I'm having a really, really hard time sleeping. And my back has been on fire for 2 days. So I didn't even do any unboxings today because I was, number one, my son had a play date and 2 little boys of a certain age. Whew. Again, quietness is bad. Getting into trouble. So we did that. And then I had a little bit of work. I'm off sabbatical for the summer, but I do volunteer at camps for various youth. This week, this was my last day at Academia, which is Latino youth. And tomorrow I start with Conway, which is Native American youth. And it's one of my very favorite camps of the year. And I'm already finished Academy, which is like gifted, my youngest academy gifted kids. I think it's like 6th through 8th grade. And Black Youth Summit. I only did 1 day there because I kind of got called at the last second. But I digress. Very, very cool. I'm hoping that we can maybe create an option for maybe not traditionally gifted, but lower income kids, and that's something that I'd love to work out in the future. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. But the thing is, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to come on tonight. I didn't come on yesterday because my back hurt like hell after doing all those. I got all my June boxes done, which was a lot because Midnight Muses started back up. And so I had 6 boxes there. I think I have all of my July boxes. And so I should be able to get those filmed, get those uploaded, get them scheduled out. I have a video almost every single day scheduled through August. So you're going to see a lot of me. I finished reading Buckland's. Started out rough. It got better briefly. And then it ended also not ideal for me. I'm going to sell it, obviously. I didn't care for it, really. I think if you're into old school traditional Wicca, that the Farrars wrote a much better book. But what I will say for Buckland is that he writes at a better literacy level, a more accessible literacy level, very direct and clear. So there are some benefits, and we'll talk more about that. That'll be the first book review that comes up next Wednesday. And I've started reading the next book, although it was pretty dense and it's hard to read with little boys running around screaming. So hopefully I'll make some headway on that this weekend because I really want to get those book reviews up to you. I have deck reviews up for you guys all the way through August. So I'm excited to share that with you. And I know that I have 5 more waiting here and at least 2 more Kickstarters on their way to me. So there'll be tons of deck reviews for the next for the foreseeable future. So Mondays is divination. We'll do deck reviews. Occasionally we'll do something else fun. I just need to get caught up, like we've already talked about. Wednesdays will be book reviews, and that is actually something I'm super passionate about because I bought all these books, and one of my biggest guilt trips is that I haven't been reading them. And that's really disappointing to me. But when you have to read, 200 pages on cardiology, it's not much left for anything else. But I'm done with that for a little bit. Although I will be doing a virtual residency this year, which I'm actually really excited about. So I'll be working full-time as an FMP. I'll be having a baby, and I'll be doing full-time residency. But I am grateful for everything that I have. This is a very exciting time for me and my family. Oh, baby turkeys were born today. I don't know if you guys remember, but we had our first baby turkeys last year, and we kind of were hands off with mama, and every single one of the babies died. So this year, as soon as she'll sit for a while, even though some babies are born, the babies will stay near her, and they're okay. The egg yolk will sustain them for a day or two. That's how baby chicks are shipped to you. They're born with enough energy to last them a day or so. But when she starts standing up and moving, if they don't follow her, she will leave them. Ooh, my hands are dirty. I just pulled up one of my garlic beds and I came straight in. So I've been harvesting garlic today with a big pregnant belly. And my husband noticed that there was baby turkeys. So once mama gets up, that's when we're not going to give her freedom this year. We have a broody pen, we call it, right outside our bedroom window. So if something tries to attack her, my husband has literally jumped out the window with a rifle to go save my animals. Hopefully that won't happen, but we're going to catch her and all the babies, and she's going to have to be locked up because I would rather have her uncomfortable and a little bit pissed off and everybody live until at least the poults are about yay big, as opposed to it was pretty devastating last year. Pretty devastating. It was her first year as a mom. She was not successful. She walked around and she would just leave them to die. And so when I found out she was doing that, we captured them, we brought them back in, we nursed them back to health. And when we felt like they were strong enough, we gave them back to her. And literally that night, a predator came and she lost the fight and all the babies were eaten. And I cried a lot. It was a pretty bad day. So we're not doing that again. And I had successful geese, and I'm stopping the ducks and the chickens from laying this year because I have so many of both of them. And I'm actually going to cut my flock back. Why am I talking about this on a magical channel? Because to me, that is magical living, right? Being in communion with animals and land and spirit and things like that. I think it's really important. So also, it's my life, and that's what we're talking about. So we have the garlic harvest, we have baby turkeys, we have we did a Get Ready With Me on Wednesday for the full moon in Capricorn, which I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been a lot of time since I did one, but it was really nice for me too, because it gives me an excuse to say, no, this is important. Stop, sit down and look at this. And I'm really glad that I did. And I had a lovely bath afterwards. It was quite nice. And I think that's where we're at. So anyways, I did put out a poll. Well, what we got here? Hold on. Two things. Okay, so I'm on call nurse too, so if something's wrong, I got to check and make sure we're not having a bad day. But I did put out a poll saying, "Hey guys, what do you want to talk about today?" And the only person that responded was Katrina. She's a doll. And so she gave an actual list. I'm not gonna. So let's read the list and then we'll gauge where we're gonna go with that. So, deity practice incorporating craft into existing religious practices. I think that's really interesting and really personal. I think the way that I would approach that is with my personal practice. And of course, I worship the Virgin Mary and Jesus and the archangels and so on and so forth. That's that spirit to me. Part of a face of the face that I'm most comfortable working with, which is not to say that I don't believe that the other pantheons or whatever. It's just that I believe that pantheons and different religions and different expressions and different worships are all faces of the same uh, great spirit, the same great spirit that we're all trying to comprehend in each culture and person. And religion is just doing their take and trying to get to the same place we're all trying to get to, which is spiritual enlightenment, empowerment, understanding how you fit in the world, understanding where you come from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, Catholicism, Catholic deities, saints, archangels, etc. But historically, there is extreme correspondences between, like, the tale of uh, Jesus and Mary is very, very, very close to Isis and Horus, and et cetera, et cetera. Lots and lots of correlations, and especially these cultures were, in each other's backyards and influencing each other heavily. So just super interesting topic, but I think I would like to prepare that, and I think I'd like to get this going a little bit more so that we can have more people to participate in the conversation, because I know a lot of people who feel like Marian worship and witchcraft are anathema, which is not the case at all. There's many, 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 many people in the world who do it now, who've done it in the past. And I mean, Marie Laveau was a devout Catholic, and she was definitely also the Hoodoo Queen of New Orleans, the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. So it's just really, a lot of it is cultural background, and one does what must be done. So interesting topic, but I'd like for us to have a bigger collective voice to talk through that. Wicca versus paganism. I do not practice Wicca. I'm going to actually talk a lot about that in my book review for Buckland's. Buckland's makes it sound like witchcraft is Wicca, and I could not disagree more. That is not. No. Witchcraft is a practice. Wicca is a religion. They are not the same thing. They're not the same thing. I believe you can have one, the other, or both, but they're not the same thing at all. So what I would say is paganism is often thought of as nature religions, or, I mean, really, when you go down to the actual origins of words, it's really mild and has nothing to do with religion at all. We could even look up what pagan means. It's a person. Wait. So, a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions. So that's basically everything relating to pagans. So basically, paganism is a term first used in the 4th century by early Christians for people in the Roman Empire who practiced polytheism or ethnic religions other than Judaism. So basically, paganism literally means everything but Judeo-Christian, the Abrahamic religions is what we're looking at, which is a lot of things. So I would say that Wicca is, so paganism is an umbrella, Wicca's under it, but certainly not equal. They're not the same thing. It's an umbrella spoke under it. And I'm not a good person to talk about Wiccanism at all because I'm not a Wiccan. I don't identify with that at all. I'm going to briefly talk about a lot of the points that I don't agree with when I go over Buckland's, because Buckland's is specifically about Wicca. It's specifically about like the Reformation Wicca, which is like your Gardnerians, your Alexandrians, your so on and so forth. Very Eurocentric, and it equates Wicca and witchcraft, but they are not equatable. There's a lot of problems there. I would say you could certainly still read it. I will say I did not get anything that I haven't read elsewhere more palatable from that book. What I will say is that it's very direct and it was very easy to read. But I think that's a better topic to discuss in that book review. And if when I go over it briefly in the book review, people want to discuss it more, then that's certainly an option. I would just, any comments or feedback. And if you don't feel comfortable commenting on the video, my social media is posted on the About page, and you can contact me really easily and quickly on Facebook or Instagram and email. I check all of those every day. Okay, making everyday magical. I talk about this ad nauseum. This is my favorite topic. This is my favorite thing to talk about because I believe that that's really, when I think of like my goal in practice, it's to live intentionally, to practice as I live, for them to be one and the same. The way that I kind of believe that our ancestors truly did, in that they would have rituals or traditions or very specific ways of doing things because of spiritual or ritualistic or traditional or superstitious, even that's kind of condescending, but their beliefs in that way. I believe that that is how real people practice, and that these grimoires and all this other stuff was very ceremonial, was a lot of very creatively made up by Christian churches to scare people, and not at all what most people who were cunning folk or healers or spiritual practiced, right? That's just my personal opinion about what I think that most people actually lived. So that is my goal, to live a magical life. But the good news is it's really easy because everything is full of magic. You just have to see it. You have to train yourself to see. And honestly, I feel sorry for people who can't see. And that's one of my missions, is to help you see, to see all the magic all around you all the time, every day of your life. When we're little kids, it's easy to see that, but society does a real good job of crushing that shit out of you. Because if you have this connection, this world, it's easy. It's harder for you to sit down and shut the fuck up. It's harder to control you. It's harder to make you into a factory worker or a cog in the machine, right? We got to stomp that shit out of you young. Follow rules and to go along things to fulfill you, acquiring love, status, acquiring money, which is nothing. I like having stuff. Do not get me wrong. I love my creature comforts. But when it comes down to it, I could be happy without any of it. I could be happy with food that I've grown myself. I could be happy with spending time watching my animals peck and scratch and do their thing. I could be happy with just the company of my husband, my son, and the land around us. And I'm frequently am happy with those things. What I hope long term, what I've done in the past, what I've said in the future, what I have all around me, is that you could identify how those things are presenting for you. How does magic come to you? What makes you feel magical? What makes you feel connected? What makes you feel alive in your body? What makes you feel okay? What makes you feel good? Are those things necessarily synonymous with magical practice? No, not necessarily. But for me, the whole goal is to intentionally exist in this finite human experience. I fail a lot, especially when I have a bigger task, a bigger mundane task like grad school or nursing a pandemic. And those things sometimes confuse you into thinking that they're the most important things in the world because they're very loud things, right? Sometimes your job and your finances or whatever, I'm to thinking that they are the most important things in the world because they're loud and they're scary, and we're trained to think that they're the most important things in the world. But if you really look back in your memories and you reflect, like, when was the last time I was happy? When did I last feel delight? When did I last feel joy? When did I last feel moved? It's hardly ever any of those things. You won't take those things to your grave with you. You won't remember those things on your deathbed. Those things are not going to be the lingering pieces of yourself if you have dementia. They won't. They won't. I'm not saying, I'm not saying drop the regular world. I think that I really hate when people in the spiritual community advocate for that because like, it completely spiritually bypasses the reality that a lot of us must do this and that we must feed our children. We must feed ourselves. We must. But I'm here to tell you that even when we must survive, I want to help us find ways, little things that we can do that take a couple seconds that will help us thrive, that will help us connect, that will help us bring joy, that will help us bring intention. And that to me is mundane magic. The little magic, the little bits that fill your cup, that nurture your soul, that leave memories, traditions, rituals. I mean, I just had a huge milestone graduating grad school, nurse practitioner. I think I'm the first person in my family with a master's degree. I can't be sure. But yes, it's my victory, but it's really my mom's victory. It's really my grandparents. It's my family. Like, I know not for a fucking second that I didn't do all this by myself. This is a community effort. This is lots of love and sacrifice and work that went into me, that went into not just me now, like my husband picking up all the slack so I could focus on this, and my son having grace with me, not giving him as much attention as I could, and my friends and everything, but like my mother laying the foundation, my grandparents before them, and so on and so on and so on, right? That's the thing. And my mom worked really, really hard. I mean, really hard. Single mom with a whole bunch of kids and a super challenging, spiritually challenging job, challenging in every way. Let's go back, just challenging. And when I look back, I think about all that sacrifice, not in terms of like, oh, she must have made the company so much money. Oh, she must have made them, I don't give a fuck about them. What I think about is the sacrifice that she made of her time, of her life. And I teach my son that money is your life. You're selling a part of your life to make money. And it's the truth. You're selling your skill, your intelligence, your body, your life, your time which you will never get back. It's a finite resource. You only have so much of it. You are selling that for money. My mom willingly sold that amount of money so that we could have a chance to do that less. That's a massive sacrifice. That is a massive act of love. That is a massive commitment. And that lays the foundation for me to do that for my son in the best way of my ability. But it's also not the thing that I remember when I fade. Eventually, we'll all fade. Eventually, even healthy people lose some of their memories, are not quite as sharp. I think I will smell her perfume. I can't, like, I think I will taste her food that she cooked for us. I think I will hear her voice. I think that I will remember a million little things that had nothing to do with money or work, but just presence, with just comfort, with just love. So, yes, all those things are important, but the things that are really worth it are the small moments in between. So that's what I mean by making the mundane magical. How can we harness that for ourselves and for each other? Because I even think about like holidays, okay? I think about Christmas, which is the most magical time of the year. It's, it's wonderful. There is a certain magic about Christmas that's just, to me, irreplaceable. Nothing like it. Nothing in the world, nothing in my experience is like Christmas or Halloween. But Christmas, let's focus on Christmas. And I think I can remember maybe one. I have an excellent memory. I can remember several Christmas gifts. But what I really remember, what really makes me happy, what really makes me think of Christmas, it's lights, it's decorations, it's the feeling, it's the little foods, the favorite foods that we ate. It's my grandma's Christmas tree and pernil con arroz con gandules, and I mean, there's an anticipation of opening presents. The stories, all the beautiful stories. Christmas Carol is still one of my favorite stories of all time. Absolute favorite. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And it wasn't presents. Although I will say one of my favorite gifts I've ever gotten is my mom bought. I was so surprised. It was such a wonderful gift. It was the Game Boy Color yellow with the Pokemon. I must have played that thing till I went to the military. And that was a long time. I love that thing. And it's also nice now too, because I talk to my son about Pokemon all the time. So what am I saying? How can, and this is a bigger topic, and I'm actually going to write this down because it's a bigger topic I want to explore with you guys over time. And I want to give you guys options and prompts and stuff so that you can jog your memory. And when I give you guys stuff like that, it works for me too. So it's kind of selfish. What are the little things that mean big, that give you big dividends, give you big memories, give you big feels? And then I want you to find correlations to that in your everyday life and how you can make that energy feel good, fill you up, and connect you to whatever it is you think your spiritual work is, right? Okay, so some things that I do every day, I literally have it on my bullet journal. If I'm going to get up and function at all, I do these things every morning. I get up, I write down my dreams every day. Dreams in particular are very important to me. I was gifted in that department. And so was my mom and a couple of my sisters. Very gifted. Dreams are very clear, very vivid, very meaningful for me and my family, or large portions of us. So it's important for me always to write down dreams. I get a lot of messages. I get loads. I highly recommend that. takes me a couple minutes. I literally don't do, like, people have dream journals and all this other stuff. And if you do you, boo boo, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But you know what? The best thing that works for me is I have this little app called Notepad, and I open it, I put down the date, I write down the dream. And I forgot to write my dream this morning, and it was a big one because it was one of those dreams where I would wake up and then like go to the bathroom and come back and fall back into it. So I got to write that down. First thing I do, spiritual practice. Absolutely. Writing down your dreams is spiritual practice. It's easy. It's good for you. And if you can find a way, this is the easiest. I have my phone right next to my bed always, because I'm always on call. I'm always listening for it. I mean, I've gotten phone calls from family members in the middle of the night needing medical advice. I'm also the camp nurse, so I'm always got my phone on. And it takes me a second and I got my phone on dark screen, so it doesn't really, gives me a little bit of a start, but I really want to, for me, the first thing I write down is the words. I was gifted with seeing things, but not hearing things. So if I hear something in a dream, the most important thing that I want to write down is the words that were spoken to me, because I will lose that. Dreams. That's one easy way to really anchor your practice. You could do a lot of work with it. I don't do any actual work with it. Occasionally I will before bed pray for a dream, pray like for my friend that like, hey, help me out. I need guidance. I need to know what to do, or I want to dream about this or whatever, and see what comes up for me. But I mostly just let it, whatever downloads come to me, downloads. So for me, super easy to write down dreams. I think it's non-denominational. Anybody would benefit from writing down dreams, no matter what your path, Wiccan, Catholic, Muslim, whatever, bazillion different options there are, agnostic, atheist. Even from a psychological standpoint, writing down your dreams is really helpful. It's helpful in a lot of ways, because not only are you understanding what's really sticking with your mind, it helps with your subconscious concerns. It helps kind of identify what important things are affecting you, what players are affecting you, but also it helps you understand how your brain works with symbology, works with what do those things mean to you specifically. And that will make you better at divination. That will make you better at receiving messages. That will make your practice better, because when I am overwhelmed with emotion, for example, a recurring dream that I will have is massive tsunamis. And the tsunamis never hit, but I can always see this tidal wave of water coming at me. What is the water? The oceans, my emotions is this wave, and it's threatening to overcome me. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, it'll happen in different places. I've had it happen in a city. I've had it happen when we were on the coast. I've had it happen in all sorts of different situations. But I know now from years of writing down my dreams that this is like emotional turmoil manifest in my dreams as tsunamis. I used to have a lot of dreams when I was really like a teen, late teens, like 19, 20, 21, where something terrible would be happening and I would try to call for help. I would try to get help and my voice wouldn't work. That was a big thing for me, that I felt powerless, that I felt out of control with my life. That is a big theme for me. It hasn't happened in almost, a decade and a half at least. I don't feel that way anymore. But really good trope for me. But also think about the places. We'll have a whole different situation on dreams. Dreams is a great topic. Dreams. Monday Magic series. And as always, please be free to do your comments. I don't mean to talk at you, but it's kind of hard to have conversations because I talk really quickly. And I know sometimes you guys just want to listen to me. But if you have anything to say, I always appreciate that. So first thing I do is write down dreams. We can go ad nauseum into how important they are, how you can use them, how they count as spiritual practice, how they can deepen your other methods of spiritual practice and help your life. Dreams. First thing I do every day, type up my dreams. You're going to have moments where your alarm goes off and then your kid's play date comes and you're like, we got to get together. And then you don't write down your dream. But as soon as you can, go back to it. I have my dream, go to the bathroom. And I sit down and I check in. I sit down and I check in. It takes me 5 to 10 minutes to sit down and I check in. What does that mean? Number one, here's some options. I like to light an incense, and I like to think just while I'm lighting it, and I'm gonna have a good day today. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm protected. I am blessed. This is good. And my husband and son will be sleeping, and I just put it over them, and then I set it on the thing. Do you have to do that? No. I was just looking at a message to make. I'll answer that afterwards. Because I don't know if I have one. I'm gonna have to look. I don't think I have a glass dipping pen. I think I have 2 metal nubbed pens, but I'll look. I digress. Light an incense. It's easy. It's quick. If you don't like incense, you can light a candle and just say, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to have a good day. Or whatever it is that you're wishing, whatever intention you want to set. It's that quick to set to your mind before you do anything else. I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to be protected today. I'm blessed today. What is meant for me is going to find me today. Whatever it is that you want to do, an incense, a candle, a spray, whatever, however that works, however that looks for you. Okay. The next, for me, it's incense. I like candles all the time too. It's either of those, but I like incense in particular because I just waft the smoke over me and my family. The next thing I do is I get a piece of paper, a lot like this, and I say today's date. And I could do this beginning or I could do this later, but I'm going to make an affirmation. And usually, they're nothing. Don't get caught up in your head that it has to be this and it has to be in this tense and it has to anything. Anything works. You are setting an intention. You set it to your incense. You're going to write it down and it's going to happen. What was the last one I wrote? I got this. Today is a good day. Nothing fancy. I'm just telling myself what I wish somebody else, what a friend would tell me, what I want to tell me, what I'm putting out into the universe. I'm going to have a good day today. I'm not going to be, the drama can't touch me today. I'm blessed today. What is meant for me finds me today. A brief sentence at the top of the page, right above the date, an affirmation. Do you have to write it down? No. I like to say it. I like to write it. That's just me. How is the spiritual practice? Because I'm setting my intentions for the day. I'm manifesting the life this every day that I want. That might look different for you, but for me, I had to streamline my approach to something that was manageable, to something that I could do, and to something that could ground me and keep me feeling connected to myself in the chaotic world. And we are living in a chaotic world. You're taking a few minutes for yourself to ground yourself into your person, into your life, and what do you want out of it? It takes a minute. And that is magical, because what is magic? What is spiritual practice? What is all this shit that we're doing if not trying to make the life that we want for ourselves? We're trying to make the life that we want for ourselves. It's that simple. It really is. Do not get wound up by this media, by these channels, by this beautiful witch aesthetic. It doesn't have to look like any of that. It could be whatever damn notebook I have today, just saying like, I'm going to have a good day. I deserve respect. I'm beautiful. Everything that's meant for me comes to me. A simple affirmation. I also like, for myself, and I've done this every day this year, I bought the book. You don't have to buy the book. You could go onto Instagram, Himi Aura. You could get yourself a book of Rumi poems. You could read a verse from the Bible. Whatever it is, I have something where I get a quote for the day. My personal favorite is the Himi Aura, Ancestor Said. It is my go-to every single day. I open it, I look at it, and I think, okay, that's the message for me today. You could have a quote book. You could look up the first quote that you see online. You could have a Bible verse. You could have a bunch of little scraps or intentions in a jar, and you pull one every day. What I'm just giving you ideas for myself. This takes me very little time, and it helps anchor myself. So I have an ancestral message for the day. That's how I look at it. I have an ancestral message. I've got an incense to set the tone, because your sense of smell is the most primitive part of our brains. Things that smell is a very, very important sense that we take for granted. Writing and saying things out loud is very, very powerful magic. The way that you talk to yourself and the way that you think is your reality. And my husband nags me about this constantly, because I, especially when life is really fucking hard, I struggle with negative self-talk. And then I get into what I like to call a sneaky hate spiral. Look it up, hyperbole and half. But it's true. You get into this negative thought pattern, and then something seemingly minuscule that would never bother you normally will set you over the edge, and you're going to have a bad fucking day. We're not going to do that, folks. We don't have to do that. We just got to talk to ourselves right. We got to set our minds right, and then the world is yours. You can make it. You can do almost anything. I mean, law enforcement and physics is going to get in your way. Oh, baby. Oh. I get bad round ligament pain. Sorry. Ow, that really fucking hurts. Okay, so I've got my quote. I've got my incense or candle or whatever you've got. I've got my affirmation. I've done all of this in probably 2 to 3 minutes. Done. I've written down my dreams. That can take long depending on how detailed my dream was, how much I really need. I've kind of gotten down to, like, I write down the most important things that will help pull the dream up. I'm really at this point, at this juncture of many, 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 many years of dream tracking. I know what points I need to write to pull the dream back into my like vision. I say vision because I can see it again. And then I glance through my book of shadows. So every week I get little emails from Chani, Astro Twins, some of the planners. And then on the Sunday when I'm planning my week, I write brief notes. So it'll be like Monday, this kind of energy. Tuesday, Mercury goes retrograde. Be careful with conversations. Wednesday, Venus opposes Capricorn. Be mindful with your relationships. I just write very brief 1-sentence liners once a week. And so every morning I'm kind of like, oh, Tuesday, it says, be mindful of conflicts. Watch your words, double check your emails. And so I'm kind of like, okay, I've got that reminder in the day. I open up my bullet journal and I kind of see, like, okay, what do I have set aside for myself today? My bigger pages I do for the week. So like every week, and I've gone through my bullet journal before, but every week I'll be like, oh, these are the things that I have to do, big things, big appointments that I have to do. These are my goals for the year. Which ones am I going to work on this week? This is the lunar cycle, and what does that look like? Where are we at? Where am I at? Stuff like that. I kind of glance through it and I'm just saying, like, okay, I got to focus on this. Then I get to, so my monthly planner always looks like this. I have the date. I have a quote. I have the planetary movements, and every single day I have where the moon is. And then I have space here to write whatever I want to write. As well as I have like a running list of projects and stuff. So then my week goals, I'll look at, and this is just me getting started for the day. Hi, Leanne. I do all this in the space of 5 to 10 minutes. But I'm just giving you an example of, like, what does my mundane magic look like? So I've got my goals that I've already set. I've got my intentions. I've got my life plan. I know what I'm trying to manifest, right? These are the little things I get to set my mind right to manifest. And I do believe that that is part of your spiritual work. That's the actual work part. That's the actual making things happen part. And so I believe that's very magical. That's why I digress. So I'll look at the day. I'll look at what I have to do that day. I'll write it on my little list. A lot of people write it straight in their bullet journals. If I did that, I'd have 3 bullet journals a year. So I try to really narrow it down. Then I have my goals for the week, and I kind of say like, well, look at how my week's going. What do I have time for? What can I manage? So I can cross some things off. So I finished this task. I started book reviews. You know, I have filmed and upload. I'm pretty proud of that. I did update, get updated. I did my full moon work, all of that. And then I'm checking and making my plan for the day. This takes me, so we woke up, we wrote down our dreams, we went to the bathroom and do your bathroom jam. I lit an incense, wafted over myself, wafted over my family. I sat down, I got my journal, I wrote the date down. I also do a morning check-in, which is a productivity thing, but it also helps set my mind right. That takes less than 2 minutes. I write my affirmation. I look at my ancestral quote for the day, check the astrology, and then I plan my day. This takes very little time, helps me feel grounded, helps me move through my day. And I feel like grounding, centering, setting my intentions, reminding myself what I'm working on, what I'm manifesting, what I'm doing here. And I'm going to have a good day, calling positive energy to myself. There's lots of things that you can add or take away. You might want to do breath work. You might want to do grounding. You might want to do a reading for the day, pull yourself a card, take a brief step outside and have your coffee while you look at nature. There is a lot of things that you can do that are absolutely valid for both self-care and spiritual work. All of it. All of it. It's all work. Every time you set your intentions in the new moon, the full moon, the beginning of the year, your solar return, whatever, every time you're coming back and you're reiterating that, you're grounding that, you're manifesting that, you're setting your intentions around that, you're doing the work all the time, every day. You're programming your mind that you're going to make this happen, that you're making it happen now, that it's come to you, that everything's going to work for you. And then you get into this habit, and then you feel like it's not a regular day without doing this. And that's how I really that's how I manifest, but that's how I really meld practice into my everyday life. And there's always part of me that wants to be more elaborate, that wants to add more, that wants to do something more traditionally witchy. But it comes down to, I'm really fucking busy, and who gives a shit what everybody else on the internet thinks? Because when it comes down to, the person I have to answer is me and my family and my gods and my ancestors about how it is that I'm living the best of my life. And these little steps help me, A, live my best life, but B, feel connected to what the fuck that is, to remind myself, why am I doing these things? Why am I grinding this out? Why am I, making myself uncomfortable or working, or what am I doing with myself? I got to remind myself all the time. I got to keep my eye on my prize. That's just me. What works for you? These are just examples. So that's what I try to do in the mornings. I also, take care of your physical body, right? That has a bazillion % potential for bringing in magical into the mundane. Okay. And it all depends on what it is that you are trying to bring into your life. You're going to brush your teeth. Maybe you're going to brush it and you're going to imagine that the mint is going to be clear speaking. And you just have that little visualization while you're doing your 3 minutes of brushing. Or maybe you're going to do your shower and you're just washing away you're imagining physically the water washing away any negativity, any residual gunk from yesterday or whatever. It's all going down the drain, and today is going to be a good day. Maybe that's your work in the morning. Maybe that's your daily practice that really helps you feel good. Whatever it is. Maybe you're going to do your beauty routine and you want to give yourself a beautiful face or attract a mate. And as you put on your products and you work on your thing, you're putting some sigils in your cheeks. You're reminding yourself, you're massaging yourself, you're talking to yourself in the mirror. You're looking at yourself and you're telling yourself that you're beautiful, that you're worthy, that you're worth it, and people love you. You're attracting what you want. Even just looking in the mirror. And I sometimes do this too. And telling yourself, I'm beautiful and I deserve love and I'm worth it, while you're going through your morning evolutions, right? Those are all spiritual work. It's all spiritual work. All of that intention, all of that planning. My husband is in the background with the pool cleaner. What are you doing? You silly goose. Telling yourself affirmations in the mirror, really looking at yourself. You are doing it. You got up today. You're washing your mouth. You're washing your face. You got out of the shower. Some days that's hard. Good for you. You're upright. You got it. You could have special soaps that you use. You could have special products that you use. You might have a beautiful spray. Yeah, my husband is a pool boy. he's very much taking his dad role with the pool responsibly this year. Because we had a green pool more than once last year, but he's not doing that this year. He's been really on top of it. I'm so self-conscious when I drink now because my mama says it's so loud, and every time my sister Dalsey's like, you could do mukbang. I was like, I hate that. I don't want to be a loud eater and drinker. It is what it is, though. Okay, so I'm just going through examples. Yes, they do. If you do not take care of them, bugs drown in them. They're messy. I'm just going through. So I have my routines listed, and I'm going through some examples of how you can add mundane magic to all of your routines. And we can, no, it's hard work. But thankfully he does all the work. So music is really important for me. I have music as one of my goals for the day. Did I listen to music today? Not just because it uplifts my mood, because it gives me an outlet for my emotions, because it helps me feel deeply, because it gives me, it gives me a lot for my mental health and my spiritual health and my emotional well-being. Music is really important to me. Singing is really important to me. It really helps me. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to me. It's part of my day. It's part of the routine that helps me feel good. And it's such an easy thing to accomplish. And I like checking things on the list. List making is a big part of me. I have a stellium in Virgo. List making is spiritual work for me. It's deep satisfaction work for me. It is self-care for me. Whatever it is that feels like that for you, by all means, girlfriend, do it. Do it. You do you. But for me, list making, list checking, and all of that, hi mom, is very therapeutic. I love it. So music's really important to me, to listen to sing to get my vibe right, to just to get my mind right. I think that's an easy way for anybody to. You could listen to witchy music. You could listen to, for me, it's music that evokes the emotions that either I need to get to release, to expel, to get rid of. Helps me release that energy through tears, through singing, through emotion. Number two, it helps me build up energy. So when you're in circle, right, you're building up energy to release a code of power, to manifest whatever it is that you're trying to do. I can do that anytime. Music, I can build up energy. I can build myself up. So a lot of times in the last 2 years with this very challenging working conditions, I had to really sing and hype myself up on the way to work to get through my days. I had to really, music can ground me. Music gives me an outlet. Music changes my mood. And I also kind of use it as a form of divination because I almost always have my music on shuffle. And I kind of gauge what I need by what comes up. So that's also a bit of spiritual work for me. Just like what's coming for me. Like what do I need to know? What's going to be the vibe of the day? Sometimes I'm on my way to work and I'll have shoot. I'll have Harry Styles, Rage Against the Machine, and then like um, Ella Fitzgerald and Randy Travis. I don't know. They'll be like bam, 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 and I'm like, okay, that's where we are today. Good to know. And it's just super helpful. The other thing I have on here is movement. That involves right now not so many things for me because I'm having a hard time getting moving again after my first trimester absolutely knocked me on my ass. So I'm actually building up to like, hey, how about I try to get at least 1,000 calories in today? That's been my first goal. Now that I'm really accomplishing that, I've worked in my garden today. I'm being more active. I'm building back up because I was at 8 miles a day and working out 3 times a week and all of that before. And now I'm really struggling just to like, I'm upright today. I ate sufficient calories today. I worked in the garden. I know. And they will have you think that like, whoa, you need to have a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice looks different for everybody. Maybe you're just going to enchant your coffee as you stir it. Maybe you're going to pray over your meals. That's gratitude. It's important. Maybe you're going to, so for me, movement, I like to get outside and I like to walk. That's my favorite thing. And I like to look. I'm multitasking. I'm working my body while I'm also working my spirit. And you see so many beautiful things, sunsets, sunrises, plants. You smell the things. You see how the world is changing around you, wildlife, all of that. Take it in. Take it in. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe you got to work out on a treadmill or maybe you got to walk in a noisy neighborhood. Put a meditation on. Chani has guided meditations. There's tons of free guided meditations on the internet. Put some music on that moves you. Just get your spirit right. Exercise is challenging until I realized exercise was helping my spirit, helping me feel grounded, helping my body really just release endorphins that made me feel better. And that can be, it's maintaining your temple. It's lifting your mood. If you can get outside, more's the merrier. You're getting time out in nature, time with fresh air, time out in the sun, and you can multitask by observing everything around you for actually spending time in nature. Spiritual practice right there with your movement. Another that I have for myself is you could do, your movement could be yoga, and that's very meditative. That's very good for your chakras, good for your physical body, good for your emotional body, good for your etheric body. You might be dancing and you might get yourself ecstatic, get your vibes going, build up that energy through your dance and release it into your intentions, whatever they may be. You can multitask your movement. One of the other things that I have on my movement list, is it on my movement or did I add it to another thing? I added it to another thing. But those are all examples of how you can harness taking care of your physical body, taking care of your physical mundane life, and adding spirit to it, and adding, work that helps you on more than just the easily perceivable the level, right? You're doing more. You're always doing multiple things at once. Always, you always are. So why not add that extra layer, if you can, if you feel able to your life. I have getting outside. That's actually a written down goal, getting outside every day. And that's part of my practice in that I like to see how the world changes every day, how it actually looks like to go through the seasons of my life in this place. And it's never the same every year. It's usually not a necessarily unique experience, but the flavor is never the same. So I love especially transitory seasons. You could smell spring changing. You could smell winter changing into spring, and you could smell summer changing into fall, particularly. And you could feel fall changing into winter. You could feel spring changing into summer. It's my personal opinion. You do how you do. But that's my whole purpose of getting outside. Getting outside, I need to look at my garden. I need to look at my animals. I need to look at the land around me. I need to get fresh air. You might do that barefoot so that you can earth, release your extra electrical energy into the ground. That's another 10 minutes a day is my, and a lot that could be multitask. I can multitask movement, music, and outside time all at the same time if I just go for a walk in my neighborhood. I'm outside, I'm listening to music, moving my body, and I'm singing and looking around and just living life intentionally. I love spring. Spring and fall are my favorite. Okay. Ofrenda. I am not as good about this as I want to, but it is on my daily practice list. It's on my daily to-do list, my routine list. I keep an ofrenda every day of the year. I keep an ancestral altar every day of the year. At a minimum, I try to keep the water clean and fresh. And if I have food on there, fresh. And if the food is not fresh, take it off there because I don't want to do that. And if I have flowers on there, fresh. And if the flowers are dying, take them off. And to keep it really, tidy, it takes a couple minutes. I usually ask my husband to make coffee. I'll wash the cup really quick and fill it with water in the bathroom. And then put it on there, kind of like make sure there's no dirt or petals. And so it's been a little bit hard. I have been doing it very consistently recently just because we've been having some, I feel like I've been upset about stuff lately that particularly I want my grandparents. So I've been lighting it a lot more. Oh, and it was my daddy's birthday recently. So I definitely cleaned it really good. I got yummy snacks. I got everything set up, fresh flowers, the whole shebang for my daddy's birthday. And I'll have to do the same for my grandmother because she's upset. She won't come. For me, that's really important. I don't always get to it, but I try to keep it at least free of filth and not gross. And the more that I can do there, the better. But of course, sometimes it falls by the wayside. But even on a day that I do maintain it, it doesn't take me more than 2 to 5 minutes to come over there, to lightly kind of dust and tap, to get fresh water if needed. Fresh coffee will take a little bit longer, but if the coffee's gross, take it off. Fresh water. Usually, if I do coffee, I'll get a snack and like saltines or sweet bread or, something like that. And if I have flowers, I'll usually get the flowers once a week. Really easy and quick. Lighting the candles I like to light them in the evening, and they're kind of just hanging out with us for the evening, like they're visiting. And it's right there and where we're all sitting together. And so that's also something that I have streamlined to be very quick and very easy and very accessible for me and my family and ancestral practice. Because if you've been here for any amount of time, you know that that's like really a heavy backbone in the way that I understand spirituality today and for the rest of my life. Like, what is really important? All these people who sacrificed so much for me, who love me, whose love shaped me, whose love shaped my family, and who like when it comes down to it, all these things that I'm trying to do and accomplish and work through in my life is to better the situation for all of those who are going to come after me. And when I do those things, I reflect like today, my son made green melt and I was so happy and so proud. And I think to myself, man, my son is so lucky. He'll never know how lucky he is that I can afford to pay for this. I wanted to do this as a kid. And no, I didn't really want to do karate, but I wanted to go to camp or like extracurriculars. And that just wasn't in the cards because we had food and we had toys and we had wonderful things. Look at this Prince Charming. And that was amazing. That was a blessing. But because of those sacrifices that my mom made, I can give my son more. And that's so beautiful. And I think like, oh my God, what is my grandkids' life going to be like? What is all of this work going to look like for them? How much is how, you're looking, there's a Native American saying like, we're the middle of 7 generations. And the 3 generations before us has shaped us, and we shaped the 3 generations below us, right? And I just think like those 3 generations did a lot for me to be where I am today. And what am I giving? What am I doing? What am I contributing? How am I setting the stage? I feel very responsible, but in the best way possible, for leaving shit better than I got it. And I know that that's how my mom was. And so that's a really strong ethic that was built into me. And then so on and so forth. I think most people try to do better for their kids. I think that's the goal, right? To have your kids have a better life than you. Some people are shit, so that's not for everybody. and that's really challenging. But again, you do you find your spiritual path how you find it. But ancestral veneration is really important to me because it helps remind me of all the sacrifice and love and work that went into the life that I get to live, and the life that I'm building, and the life that I get to leave behind. He made green belt in karate, in taekwondo. On the ofrenda, absolutely, absolutely. So it's ofrenda, and um, my husband's relatives are extremely important because that is the love of my life. That is my life partner. That is, so I always say my son makes the sun come up. My son is in the sky, but my husband is the sky. That's the bottom line. My husband is the sky. If I lost my son, it would still be a sky with stars. But let's not do that because that's not going to happen. He's going to live so much longer than me, and he's going to have a beautiful life. He's going to be a good person. And he's going to do a lot for society and for community and for our ancestral line. And just, he's going to be a good man. That's the goal. That's the goal. And I see it in him. But yes, my husband's ancestors are very important to me. So all the ancestors that I have pictures of, but only dead, never, ever, ever, ever do I put a picture of a live person on there. I actually cut the live pictures out. So my daddy, my grandparents, my uncles. I wish I had a picture of mama. I wish I had a picture of my great grandparents. It's at my grandmother's house, but it's inaccessible to me. So he's feeling silly. It's inaccessible to me, but that would be so nice if I could get that. I got to get some pictures of my dad's relatives. I'm mostly close to my maternal side. And then, of course, my husband's, his grandparents and all of that are on there. Not as far back. I could definitely go farther back for my husband. I just don't have that. We have our core grandparents on there. I'd love to add a great grandparents. I also have all of my pets because I think that they're extremely important and I want them to always be able to come home. come home to us, to be home with us. And I think that they have a spiritual protective energy that is very different than my ancestral energy, but I keep it because I honor them and I love them. And occasionally I'll ask them for help specifically that they can do. So that's what it looks like for us. Those are all the people. I have my 2 miscarriages on there as well because they're my children, and I'll see them someday. So those are all that we have there. I think that a nice compromise would be a beautiful hand-drawn family tree, so that we would have a representation of each person who's important to us on there. But for right now, I'm just doing the best that I can. And that's how it looks like for me. So I also have 15 minutes of cleaning on there. And that just is like, we've talked about this a lot, especially this last week. Your house will give you what you feed it. And there's a lot and I'm not down with cleaning. I hate cleaning. Cleaning is I just don't like to do it. But I try to make a 15-minute thing. Let's wash the dishes. Let's wipe down the counters. Let's take out the trash. Let's cycle the laundry. Let's start the dishwasher. Cycle one load. Let's tidy up. And spiritually, A, it feeds the house. B, you feel better when your surroundings are maintained and taken care of. And C, spiritually, I believe that chaos and demons and bad things hide in messes. And that when you have less mess, there's less place for spiritual ickies to hide and to take hold and to get into your life or your brain or it just helps to have less places for bad things to hide. And so that means tidying up. Is my house sparkly clean? Hell no. This front room is a goddamn nightmare, and I have been working very diligently on it. I got to get this cleaned up. I got to get this mess under control, and that's why I kind of punish myself by skipping a month's boxes, because I really want myself to know how serious I am. We got to get this. Everything in the house got to flow, and this mess here is stopping the flow. We got to stop that. So clean 15 is what I call it. I have stretch on there, which I haven't been really doing, but I like to stretch because I stretch at the end of the day, and that's kind of like the reverse of the movement at the beginning of the day. I stretch at the end of the day to try and release some of that gunk that has built up in me over the day. Because it also... Why? It also goes with the breathing. So if I don't feel like doing a whole stretch, I will still I have a little app, and just do breath work. You can set it for 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. And it just it can either chimes at you or it buzzes you. And it's just like you breathe in, it'll buzz you. You breathe out, it'll buzz you. And to help you time your breath. And so breath and mindfulness and meditation work all go really coincide hand in hand. If you're just starting out, start out with a minute, because it's actually surprisingly challenging to keep your mind focused on that one thing for a whole minute, because our minds are accustomed to jumping to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But with practice, you can add more to it. So I usually set it for 5 minutes, and the first few breaths is just getting into my body. I'm in my body. I'm letting it out. I'm just in my body. I'm focusing on my breath. I'm not thinking about today or what I have to do or what's going on. I'm just in my body. And this counts to me as meditation, mindfulness, not meditation in that I'm trying to get out of myself, but meditation as in I'm trying to get into myself. After a whole day full of onslaught of shit, of people, stuff, of doing things, of spending my life energy, this is my chance to get back into my body. So first I will just get into my breath, get into my breathing, and then I'm at the point where I can manage my breathing with my grounding, my centering, and my shielding. So with my in breaths, yes, the air is coming into my lungs. And just like all of my bronchioles are tubes into my lungs, out of all of, if I'm lying down, because I like to do it lying down, or if I'm reclining, out of the bones in my back, out of the vertebrae in my back, is roots coming into the ground. And I've already talked to you guys about how I do that, grounding my roots. So when I inhale, my roots are digging down into the ground. And when I exhale, they're kind of relaxing, but they're also still digging until I get to about the halfway point. I get to the center of the earth, and that's where the earth energy connects to me. So then when I inhale, I'm pulling up earth energy into me, grounding energy, healing energy, mother energy into me. And with the exhale, all the shit that built up in me over the day, I'm letting it out. It's like black tar or just whatever, however you imagine your waste product looking. I'm giving it back to the earth because she's going to alchemize that into something new. She's going to take that as fertilizer, right? So I'm giving it out, letting it out, reining it in until my whole being is full of earth energy. If I'm timing myself good, I can add in some sky energy, some electricity, some father sky energy. If not, it's enough just to ground myself. I kind of know that it's getting towards the end just because I'm accustomed to doing it. But then I kind of start to center, pulling the energy into my center, my heart chakras for me, but however it looks like for you. And then the last exhale, I'm releasing that energy as a shield around me. Easy spiritual practice, 1 to 5 minutes, grounding yourself before bed. And I like to do it before bed because I think, hi, Dulcie. Let me take a drink for you and tell me how my mukbang skills are going. I like to do it before bed because I can have really bad dreams, especially pregnancy dreams are very vivid. I can have really bad dreams if I'm not careful, terrible ones. And so I like to kind of get my shit together before I go to sleep. Do I always do it? No. I mean, nausea and COVID and pregnancy and no, it doesn't always happen. But I always do some of it. I always do at least one thing. And then I feel like today wasn't a waste. No day is a waste, really. You're never going backwards. You may feel like it, but unfortunately, everybody's marching to the same destination. We're all moving forward. So, what else? I put my son to bed, and we do, taking care of his body, his hygiene. We kind of moved away from reading. I want to get back into that because that's really therapeutic. I'd like to do more around his bedtime routines, but I haven't had the energy, and I hope to be able to come back to that soon. But more on that too, because that kind of entails like spiritual practice for kids, and we'll talk about that at a later date. Because right now we spent this whole hour talking about how I add magic to my mundane thing. I would love to see in the comments what you guys do for your spirit every day. Do you journal? Do you say affirmations? Do you read a Bible verse? Do you read a book of quotes? Do you do breath work? Do you do a ritual? Do you draw a card? There's lots of things to do. Then there's nighttime body maintenance, and that same thing from from your morning. You can add those things to your evening as well. And then I track. And by that, I mean, I go to my productivity app and I spend a couple minutes saying, like, did I make any goals? How did this day go? Just kind of, I really like it because over time you have like this, I just have a little journal entry for every day. And it's on my computer or my phone, and it takes me a couple seconds. And I still feel like, I'm connecting, I'm grounding. And then, that I'm not gonna lie, the nighttime ones are the hardest for me because at the end of the day, I'm tired. I would say I'm 80% consistent on the morning, probably more than 80%, but not lately because morning sickness has really taken it out of me. With the evening, 30 to 50, not as not as consistent. So I have gratitude. The good news is I hardly ever save. Oh, nice.
Turn chores into meditation.
Turn chores into meditation. That's my husband. My husband turns all of his maintenance of the property is spiritual work. He's maintaining the land. He's feeding our land. He's feeding the land spirits. He's putting his love into our rose bushes, into our trees, into the food that we eat, with our animals, with our garden, with our trees. The only reason my house is still standing is because the love of my husband dousing himself in water and jumping into flames to save it. But yes, he's absolutely right. Turns chores into meditation, turns chores into practice. He watches me, yeah. I'm really lucky in that my husband and I have a lot of our values are really this similar. Yes, he did. His shoes melted. His shoes melted. I have a picture I can post for you guys. It's at my absolute favorite picture of my husband at this time. It used to be my husband walking down the aisle, but I think I posted it before. I don't have a picture of him in the flames because I did not get that close. I was trying to evacuate with my son and it didn't work because the roads were so congested that they just turned us around. But when I came back and my neighbor's house was burning, I have a picture I took from the car when I was checking on my son of my husband in front of a 3-story wall of flame. You can't even tell the size of the flame. It just doesn't feel real how how big the flame was. But let me find it. It was surprisingly long time ago. Time flies, doesn't it? You just kind of go on. But yeah, we are very in tune that way. A lot on the same page that way. Why am I having a hard time finding this picture? Maybe because it's not meant to be right now. Hold on. Oh, wait. Okay. Facebook's always confusing me. Doop. Doop. There it is. He's listening to me because he sent me the picture. This is a 3-story farmhouse burning to the ground. That's my husband in shorts and a paint respirator with a hose. Those shoes would melt to shit on his feet. And this is my fence of my property. And he looks like an angel of God. It's my favorite picture of him. I took this picture of him from my car. That is him. Yep, he sure did. He saved our house. He saved our house, and he did that. It didn't end. He did that for 12 hours. For 12 hours. Because the winds that was pushing the flames kept going cyclically. They would come and they would die down, and they would come and they would die down. And about 9 p.m., we didn't have water anymore because when the trailer parks burned, they had piping that was plastic. And so the water the water pressure went to nothing because all this water was pouring out of these burnt homes, 2,700 plus burnt homes, was pouring water out. And my neighbor, you guys know this, my neighbor had a water truck, and my husband was spraying the property until his eyes got so bad he couldn't see anymore because of the smoke. I say that they started to bleed. What really happened is that all the capillaries broke in his eyes, so his eyes looked like blood. But it wasn't like blood tears. It was all the capillaries in his eyes had burst, so his conjunctiva was full of blood. And so we took the ice that we had left because we had no power or water at this juncture, and iced his eyes until he was well enough, which was the next morning. But by then it was just like, okay, we're just dirt and shovels on any fire patches. I digress. I think I got way off. Oh, gratitude. Gratitude. It definitely should be on the wall. I just have to get it made. Gratitude, super important. The good news is I hardly ever say gratitude for the end of the day. I try to do gratitude all the time. I try to say thank you to my husband. Often I try to say thank you to my friends and to my coworkers. I try to think grateful thoughts about like I try to especially when I'm feeling like, oh, I have to do that. No, I get to do that. I get to do that. I have the mental capacity to do that. I try to reframe my things into like positive thoughts. Again, I'm not saying that I'm better than anyone. I'm doing this specifically because I have a problem with negative thinking. So I'm trying to counteract that sneaky hate spiral from getting started. And it has made my life much better because when you think about everything that you have, you really get into that abundance mindset. I have so much, so many good things happen to me, and that attracts more good things, and that attracts more abundance. And that's real. If you do only one thing, gratitude will really change your life. Being grateful for what you had will really change your life. Thinking in terms of how much you have, how rich you are, how prosperous, how abundant, how grateful. Oh yeah, mom, he loves you too. Do you think healthcare workers need 3 to 6 times more healthcare? Yeah, absolutely. Caring for other people is really draining. I wouldn't say healthcare workers explicitly. I would say people who care for other people. I would say mamas. I would say caregivers. Whew. Caregivers taking care of a fragile family member, that will wear you down to nothing. That will wear you down to nothing if you let it. It is so, because as a healthcare worker, I care about people. I care about them. Um, and it is exhausting to see people suffer, to see people die, to have bad outcomes. All the suffering in the world is very much in your face when you're a healthcare worker. um, it is that much harder when you're a caregiver to a person who you love specifically, um, a person that you see deteriorate, a person that, a child, especially a family member, a husband, a loved one. Uh, Caregiver burnout is absolutely a thing. It's a very real. Healthcare worker burnout is real. So here's the thing: everybody, every day, expending our life energy takes a lot out of us. This is not an easy world to live in. It's just not. There's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of hard things. Um, really challenging world that we live in. And just to keep us equal, even keeled, there's a certain amount of effort that you have to put into yourself. For some people with mental health concerns like anxiety or depression or chronic illness, that even more to keep themselves even. We take for granted um, emotional stability, mental health, physical health. And when you're lacking those things, when those things are challenging for you, then you need even more healthcare, more self care. Then, when you have enough to make yourself even to function, if you have a job that requires you to give of yourself, to give to others, healthcare, teaching, um, a lot of emergency responses, social work, veterinarian tech. These are high suicide rate jobs because it takes so much out of you. And moral injury specifically takes so much out of you. To see injustice, to see unfairness, to see cruelty all the time takes it out of you. And it doesn't just take it out of you mentally and emotionally. I think over time, it spiritually damages you. You get a soul injury. You get a soul injury when you have egregious unfairness, when you have trauma, when you face things like abandonment, betrayal, uh, you know, all sorts of traumas. But to see that and be helpless is a specific type of moral injury that certain industries get to see. A vet tech who sees a dog that's been abused or who has to put down a dog for no reason, because in Oregon you don't need a reason. They can just say they want to kill their dog, and the vet tech will have to do it. That is a moral injury. You know that you have to do something more. You have to participate in something that is morally egregious, morally wrong, and that damages you. So it takes even more conscious effort to keep yourself well. And a lot of people don't have the capacity. A lot of people end up killing themselves. A lot of people end up with really severe mental illnesses. A lot of people end up burnt out. A lot of people end up leaving those fields. It's not easy watching your patient die because they cannot get medicine, because they can't afford medicine. It's not easy putting a dog down because their owner doesn't fucking want them anymore. It is not easy being a social worker and watching the same kids get their asses beat and nothing happening to their parents, or neglected or abused, because we have a broken system and because there's not enough foster parents, and so on and so on and so on. There is a world worth of terrible things. And if you're faced with that all the time, that's a big challenge. I deal with that. I'm already really sensitive. I'm already an empath. I'm already it's already challenging for me with negative self-talk and all of that. It's even more so that I have to be very, very, very careful so that I can have enough to give safely. Because the other thing is too, if you are not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And if you keep on trying to take care of yourself, even though you're burnt out and you have nothing to give, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get hurt. You're going to hurt somebody else. You can kill somebody easily. And the height of COVID, I got my first ever on the job needle stick. I got an injury, a terrible one because it was like not a kid, but a sick person, a person who had illnesses that I did not want to get. And that was extremely traumatic for me. It took a lot of testing. Am I going to be okay? Do I have HIV? Do I have Hep C? Do I have whatever, a bazillion things? And then it's just like, and the thing is, I knew I was tired. I was getting ready to go home. And I said, just one more patient. I can do this. Just one more patient. And it didn't go well. So then I'm mad at myself because I knew I shouldn't have done that. And I'm mad at the world because, fuck, why does this happen to me? Why? And then it was not a good time. It was very, very challenging. Oh yeah. Oh, girl. I am not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think negative stuff all the time. I mean, I used to. I'm pretty good about being like, stop talking to yourself like that. And when I'm not good about it, my husband's really good about being like, you make it your own reality. Your words have power. La, la, la. And I'm like, why you gotta listen to me and say shit back to me? Don't do that. So, yes, I mean, it is hard. It is hard. It's a trials of Sisyphus. And I commend everybody who's working through it. We're going to make it. All of these steps not only will help you, feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're actual steps to be connected to your spirit. It's this easy. Am I saying that these small things every day are going to manifest your reality? I am saying that. I am going to say that. It's the little shit that you do every day consistently that makes your life. I'm going to say that. I'm going to make that bold claim that if you only do the work on the full moon or on your birthday or when you make your New Year's resolution, that is not enough. It's the everyday, it's unglamorous, it's the grind, it's the consistency, it's the changing your mind every day that really will make the life that you want. I'm going to die by that hill. So, gratitude will change your life. I have also on here the rosary. I love to pray the rosary. Whatever prayer that comforts you, whatever chant, whatever meditation, you can fill in whatever it is. Yeah, Pinterest is wonderful. I love Pinterest. I especially love to save recipes on Pinterest because even though I have terrible nausea, I love to look at food porn. The rosary is super comforting for me. I will do it if I'm afraid. I will do it if I'm upset. I will do it just all the time. And I have a beautiful rosary. I actually end up doing it most on my fingers, and I just count because a rosary is 10. 10. 10 is a decade around on the rosary, and a traditional rosary will have 5. So, you will do your 10 Hail Marys, you do your Our Father, you do your Glory Be. But however, chanting, praying, connecting, talking to the divine, talking to your ancestor, whatever it looks like, however it looks like to you. Do I get it done consistently? No. But I will say that's one thing that the more stressed I am, the more likely I am to do it because it comforts me, because it helps me feel safe and protected and in a good space. It's just, Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners from now to the hour of our death. That's one. That's one Hail Mary. And I can do that. And that's why it's very comforting, because you get into like a meditative, a trance. It soothes you. And then I know this is so corny, but I feel like when I do that, every person in my family who has said those same prayers, every human who has said those same prayers is with me. I'm not alone. When my papa would pray his rosary, my abuelita, all of my ancestors forever and ever, amen. At least the ones who are Catholic. So the last 1,000 years or so. The rosary's pretty old. And this is because when I'm doing it with beads, I like to do this. And so even when I do it on my fingers, I still do this. Like I have a bead around it. No. So a rosary will have your crucifix usually. It'll have so many beads, maybe 3 to 5. You'll have your entry bead, and then you'll have 10 beads with a Our Father bead with a marker. And that'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times around till you get back to the middle. So a rosary will be 50 Hail Marys and about 5, 6 Our Fathers and 5 or 6 Glory Bees. And it just depends on how you do it. That's what a whole rosary is. There's a really good book. It's called The Way of the Rose, and it's excellent. And it's actually by a guy who was a Buddhist, and he picked up the rosary, and it changed his life. He converted to Catholicism, but just the rosary, the act of saying prayers repetitively, really, really helped him and his wife. And it's a really great book. Repetitive prayers, freeform prayer, chanting, how I want to do it. That's one thing that if I'm upset, if I'm stressed, I think there's mala beads, 108 prayers of whatever it is that you're praying for. There's witches beads. There's however repetitive chanting prayer, whatever that looks like for you, is acceptable. I think that we're all doing the same things, and that we're trying to talk to whatever spirit, whatever deity, whatever we think of as the divine. We're trying to connect with it. And so however that looks like for you is how you do it. For me, I literally pray, and that's usually like talking like, oh, thank you God for what I have, or please God help me. Because I cannot stop fucking throwing up and I want to die. That's been a lot of my prayers lately. Please, can I please just not throw up? And then, but yes, the rosary is a big part. Like my favorite thing. That's probably one of my favorite things. But any chanting, prayers, affirmations, whatever you want to do with that's so easy, and it's free, and it doesn't take it can take as long or as short as you want. And you can do it in bed, you can do it in your shower, you can do it on your drive home, you can do it while you cook. It's so easy to add that into your life. I got read on there, and I have been doing that more consistently lately. But just reading, some people read the Bible, some people read a book of poems, some people read a book a book on, philosophy, astrology, mythology, or even just a nonfiction book or a fiction book where you're just like, I'm reading this book to nourish myself. This is an act of self care. This is an act of nourishment, an act of self love. Getting adequate sleep, and that's basically it. That's all my mundane things. Other things that come up is cooking. Cooking is a really good way. Cooking and eating are really good ways to add more spirituality into your everyday. If you say thank you to whatever before you eat, that's gratitude. You're grateful for the food that's entering your body. You're grateful for the opportunity to be able to eat and be healthy. Um, even putting thought into like, man, so many people had to work to get this to my plate. Or maybe you did the work and you grew the food. And thank you, plant, for growing on my property. And I love you and appreciate you. We usually, when we process animals, we will pray. Thank you so much for your sacrifice to feed our family. We really appreciate you. And we hope that you come back to another life that's peaceful and fulfilling and good. And when you cook, I think we take for granted how much love has gone into nourishing us, right? There's always this thing is like, oh, it's nothing like my grandma used to make. Your grandma probably didn't have a really original recipe. You're probably tainted by the love that you had for her and the love that she had for you and the love that she put into what she gave you to eat. I make bomb red beans and rice. No joke. I make really good red beans and rice. And they taste almost like my grandma's, but it will never be quite like that, right? And I learned the recipe from her. She showed me how she cooked them. And it'll still never be quite the same, quite right. My sancocho doesn't taste like my mother's sancocho. That doesn't taste like my grandfather's sancocho. But I feel, number one, I love my sancocho. But number two, I feel their love and I remember the meals that they made for me of that. And so it has a whole different flavor, but still wonderful. There's a lot of spirit and love and magic in food. There's a lot that goes into eating. And it's not, don't let anybody ever gaslight you into thinking food is just fuel. Bullshit. Food is nourishment. Food is community. Food is comfort. Food is togetherness. Food doesn't just nourish your body, it nourishes your spirit. Sitting down to a meal with the people that you love, that somebody worked their ass off to make for you, that is love incarnate. That is nourishment on every level. Don't let people gaslight you with their diet culture bullshit. I'm not saying eat all the sancocho in one sitting, but I am saying that food does nourish you in ways that if you don't appreciate that, it's a wasted opportunity. There's magic all around you. And when your mama cooks you something that she absolutely knows that you love, that is not just fuel. That is nourishment. That is love. That is comfort. That's important. That's magic right there. That is somebody giving of themselves. They're putting their life energy, they're taking moments out of their life to nourish you, to feed you, to give you the best that they can. Yeah, the connectors are where you say the Our Fathers. They're the Peters, is what you call them, Peters. And so 5 connectors and 10 beads between them. So that's a decade. So food is a really important thing that we can harness. I want to talk about food more, I think. Very, very important in so many different levels. You can grow your food, that adds a spiritual level. You can process your own food, that adds a spiritual level. But even if you just buy it from the grocery store, even if you open it from a can, if that's what your recipe calls for, and you cook a meal, that is nourishment. That is magical. That is love. That is an intentional act. It is no small feat for a mama, like mine, for example, to come home from a long shift, sometimes 16 hours, sometimes a double, get a little bit of rest, and then wake up and put food on the table for all of her children even though she is tired, even though it's been a long fucking day and she's going to do it again tonight. That is not just fueling your body, that is nourishing, that is love, that is devotion, that is sacrifice, that is magic. It is, I spent 3 solid days, no joke, cooking this last Christmas. And I was so tired, but my mom and my sisters and my husband and my in-laws, and we're all in my kitchen. And we were all making this, this beautiful feast that we would enjoy together. And that is love. And that is magic. And that makes Christmas. And that makes holidays. And that makes birthdays. And that makes community. And that makes bonds that are not easily broken. There's a lot of magic in food and eating it together and making it together and appreciating what goes into nourishing your body. That's another really good way to get your daily spiritual practice in. Even if you're just cooking for yourself, you deserve it. You deserve to eat a good meal. Maybe you bought yourself a coffee and you splurged on yourself. Enjoy that. Your life energy went into that money that you're buying it with, and you're treating yourself. So enjoy that. Don't feel guilty about that. You did that for yourself. You worked hard for that. You deserve it. Enjoy it. Don't be guilty with it. There's magic in that. There's magic in treating yourself because you're worth it. And because sometimes that is self-care. Sometimes that is treating yourself. Sometimes self-care is eating a really delicious salad because you can't remember the last time you had your vegetables. That's also putting in the work. That's also really important. So I could go on. Bathing, caring for your children, your relationship with your spouse, caring for your pets and your animals, caring for your plants, eating. There's so much space to add magic into your everyday life. And there's so much that you could add intention to, that you can work on your manifestation, that you could feel grateful for. There's so many ways to look at it. When it comes down to it, you don't need anything extra. You just need a diligent mind. You just need to say, hey, man, I can't remember the last time I had this. I'm so happy to be eating it now. That's gratitude. That's acknowledging your abundance. That's nourishment. Maybe you're going to say thank you to that person who's feeding you or who's going out with you, that you're having a wonderful community time with. Exactly. And think about it, Liberius. It's something that we have to do every day. You will die without it. You have to do it every day. So why not turn that chore, just like my husband said, turn your chores into meditation, turn it into your practice. You are living a magical life. You have only to recognize that you're doing so. And that is not an affectation on my part. I believe that with every part of my being. When my husband makes my coffee exactly how I like it, these boys are right outside the window. He loves me. That coffee's full of his love for me. And that's a blessing. That's something that I get to enjoy. That's something that's going to nourish me and our son that's growing inside me. My son's favorite meal I made yesterday, soup Toscana. He likes any soup. And I make the broth from scratch. And it's the only way he'll eat his food and his vegetables. And it takes me a whole damn day. But just his happy little face and how much he eats, and knowing that I get to nourish my son, and knowing that I don't waste any food because I made this from scraps, and the kale grew in my garden, and the sausage my mother-in-law made by hand, and it's just a blessing. It's so important. I think they want me to leave. Okay, so it ended up being this Friday Night Live was about mundane magical practice, and I think that I beat that horse to death. I think that you guys have an idea. What I'm going to ask for you, leave me some comments. How are you doing it? What does it look like in your life? Let's talk about this. This is a really important topic. I think I'm going to do more around this, because I could keep going. This is a 2-hour live. I meant to go on for 1 hour. That's why they're outside my window, because they're like, hey, we also need attention. And I want you to know that you're enough, and what you're doing is enough, and everything that's meant for you will come to you. And all the things that you want to manifest in your life are within your grasp. We just got to tweak our thinking. We got to readjust how we're looking at things, because when we have a readjustment, it's easier to see the forest for the trees, right? Because sometimes we get lost on the individual trees, and we don't want to do that. We want to see the big picture. We want to feel connected, and the good news is you're always connected. Nothing is an island. You don't exist in a vacuum. You're connected. It's going to be okay. You got this. We've got this. Life is good. It's hard, but there are good moments in every day. We just have to see them. The other thing, in my last few minutes before these boys break the window down, and also I'm losing light, I wanted to say, for the Zoom series, the idea that I thought of was the turning wheel, which I have talked about on my blog. But what I wanted to explicitly talk about over about 10 months, monthly meetings for about 10 months, or a whole year, but 10 meetings is what I had thought in my head, Zoom meetings. You could either, if you haven't bought something from me in the past, there's a group of people who bought a bundle from me, and they are going to get, at least the introductory thing for free, so they can see if they want to do it. But if you haven't done that, then that'll be for sale in some way or form. My idea is that we would talk as a group about observing the nature around us for a year. Get away! For a year. And then talking about how it relates to the Sabbaths as we traditionally see them. So the introductory would be like the idea, introducing ourselves to each other, what kind of things we think are materials that we will need. And then the next one would be a Sabbath. Let's say equinox. And then we would say, hey, what have your observations been? What is going on around you? This is traditionally what they say that it means. Do you see that in the land around you? Or how do you think that relates to your practice and the way that you're living your life and how the world is changing around you? I will, librarians, I will need help. And I'm super curious to hear, like, what is it? How does the wheel of the wheel of the year work in tropical climates, in non-European climates? And I think that that's a big step that we can all take to personalize and solidify our practice in actual nature, in the land around us, and connecting ourselves to the spirits that exist all around us. So my mama's experience in Southern California is different from my experience in the Pacific Northwest, which is different from Liberius in the Philippines, and it's different from Dakota and Scotland, and it's different from, Citrina in Maryland, and wherever all of you friends are located. So I think that'll be a really fun Zoom. If you are interested, and I'm going to put some ads up because I know everybody didn't make this live. If you're interested, let me know as soon as possible, because I kind of wanted to get the introductory Zoom set up with Liberia's help, because I'm actually not as tech savvy as I should be. And hopefully we could start with llamas. And the reason I kind of like to start with llamas is because it's the first of 3 harvest festivals. And I think it's an easy transition for us to say, like, what are we harvesting in our lives right now? What is coming to fruition? And we could talk about both spiritually, metaphysically, and literally in the landscape around us. But anyways, my boys are wilding out. So please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm particularly interested in your comments around A, what your mundane magical practice looks like, and B, if you're interested in the Zoom. And that's just one series that I'm looking to run. There's more to it. But I need to take care of these guys. And I love you guys so much. And I look forward to connecting with you in the future.